talked about schools, but even if you just walk
Very complicated agenda.
Does it actually mean anything at all?
Okay, this is right or wrong, but it doesn't actually follow it.
We've been in recession for a few years now.
Have any of you been impacted?
Real stories,
We learn from one another.
real issues. Is Islam a threat? Real views. This is Real Talk.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Beloved viewers of MTA, welcome to another episode of Real Talk Africa, where we discuss real-life issues that are affecting us as Africans while providing solutions that align with Islamic teachings. Studies have revealed that strong family bonds can act as powerful buffer against life's challenges, and individuals with close family relation are 50% more likely to overcome adversities and achieve long-term success. On today's episode of Real Talk Africa, I have with me two personalities of high repute. The first, Dr. Taufik Thani Sahib, is a consultant physician of community medicine and public health, Federal Teaching Hospital, Ido-Ekiti. He's also a senior lecturer at the Department of Medicine, Afe Babalola University, and a former Sadar of Majlis Khudamul Ahmadiyya, Nigeria. Dr. Saab.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I also have with me missionary Abdul Qahar Uluomi Sahib, as a missionary of the Ahmadiyya Muslim Jamaat of Nigeria, serving in Lagos State. Missionary Sahib.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My ever-listening audience, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Before we continue to ask questions from our guests, come with me to listen to what people have to say about family values on the street.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to another insightful episode of Real Talk Africa on Muslim Television Ahmadiyya. Today, we take a closer look at the cornerstone of the society, family values. Join us as we engage the people on the street of Lagos to garner their perspective, opinions, and understanding of the importance of family, the challenges, issues family face, and the values that bind us together.
Due to lack of understanding of some of concepts of what family is all about.
The core Islamic values for every family should be godliness, honesty, equality among family members, and just being just with one another.
First, the father must show love to all of them. If you show love to your wife and to your children, it is easier for all of you to sit at the same round table and discuss issues. And when there are problems, it is easy for those children to discuss with you directly. But if you are a type that does not give your wife any opportunity to come very close to you or the children, it will be very, very difficult for you.
By participating in spiritual activities together, and then in the home, carrying out their duties to one another. You know, when the father or the husband carries out his responsibility to the wife and the children, there is this emotional connection that comes between them.
Islam categorically states that we should let family ties be maintained. And in maintaining family ties, he said we should not let the family ties break in our hand.
They have to create time to always be together. There is a lot of challenges that goes on. The father leaves home very early in the morning. The mother also leaves very early in the morning. The children goes to school. They must create time to eat together. They must eat together, have their tahajjud prayer together, even if it is once or twice in a week.
To foster spiritual value sense of unity, morally and spiritually within the family, the parents have to bring up their children up morally and spiritually by having let them know what the society entails and what their religion entails.
The father must lead in everything by laying good examples. Then the mother should be a learned person who is ready to exhibit what is right there in the Islam to the children. And the children too must cooperate with their parents by following the laid down rules and regulations, following the teachings of the Holy Quran and Sunnah of the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
Allah said in the Quran that Ar-Rijal Qawwamuna 'ala Nisa, the men are the protectors and maintainers of women because he has given strength to one gender more than the other. So men and women should collaborate to give what women want and what the men want so that they can respect each other in the environment.
In some families, there are no proper communication between the parent and the children, and this used to cause a lot of problem for the children. Communication play a lot of role in creating strong family bonds.
Welcome back. Dr. Sani Sahib, please, what do you think family value entails?
Jazakallah khairan. Thank you very much for the question. Family values are a set of principles, beliefs, and customs that are passed from one generation to another in a particular culture. It's a transgenerational belief that are passed down from the older generation to the new generation. And it is peculiar to each community, peculiar to each culture. And in fact, religion is also one of the family values that are passed down from one generation to the other. As you all know, that these family values are important because they define what the family is. They also define individuals in the family. And you see people saying, this is what we do in our own family. This is what we do in our own home. Those are beliefs that are peculiar to them. They are customs that they have inherited from their forefathers. However, some of these values are very, very good, while some may not be too good if we look at it from a religious perspective. In fact, religion too is a family value because many of us actually practice the religion of our parents. Not many of us discover our religion ourselves. They are passed down onto us by our parents. We took it from them and also continue to practice the same thing. So belief, custom, religion, and other social and cultural principles that are inherited from one generation to the other are what we call family values. And they are important for the culture, for the community, and for the population to be sustained. Many nations are dying today because they actually lost their family values.
Jazakumullahu khairan, Dr. Sahib, for that interest. Missionary Sahib, while Dr. Sahib was speaking, he informed us that religion itself is a culture, is a family value that is passed on to generations. However, as Muslims, what do you think, or what are those things that you think are the core Islamic values?
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وبه نستعين. In the first instance, we need to understand the fact that the religion of Islam is a complete way of Islam, a way of life. It therefore means that we as a Muslim need to understand the fact that family itself is the backdrop of any society. So therefore, anything that we want to call values must be taken from the Holy Quran and from the saying of the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because religion has actually taught us the real family value in Islam. The Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam has summarized the family value in just one sentence. In one of his statements, he said, "Innama bu'istu liutammima makarim al-akhlaq," that I have been sent to perfect the best characters, to perfect the morals for you. It therefore means that the core family value in Islam is the moral. It is all about morality. All other values are under this morality. So therefore, when we talk about respect, when we talk about honesty, when we talk about kindness, if you are not morally upright, all these values will be very difficult for us to exhibit. So it therefore means that for anybody to have a good family affairs, it needs to be morally upright. Islam as a religion also makes us to understand the fact that one of the core values in family life is kindness. That is why in the Holy Quran, Allah the Almighty make it clear that while living together with your family, especially your wife, Allah says, وَعَاشِرُهُنَّ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ. That is, you should live with them in a kind manner, with kindness. It therefore means that one of the core family values is this. So, as a Muslims, we need to understand the fact that without morals, it will be very difficult for us to understand the real family value. So, for anybody to have a good family, family affairs, for anybody to live a good life, it has to be morally upright. So the core family values in Islam is moral.
Jazakumullahu khairan, Mishnah Saab, for that insight. Dr. Saab, while Mishnah Saab was speaking, he told us that the core value of the family in Islam is morality, coupled with kindness. But as a professional who has been working in the community and knows what is happening within the medical field, what do you think are the main challenges that families face today?
All right. Thank you very much once again. Yes, there is what we call morality. And every culture, every family tends to pass this from one generation to the other. But in these days, we have to differentiate between morality and ethics. You know, as the world progresses and with the advent of science, people also brought ethics into how we relate to ourselves and what we do in terms of science. So there are things that are ethical these days, but that may be immoral. There are things that are ethical, they are correct, they are right, but they may be immoral. Because that's not the way we are brought up, that's not the way we are trained, those are not the correct things that we should do. So number one is, as a society, one of the challenges we face is our children these days cannot differentiate between morality and ethics. They cannot differentiate between morality and what the world of today perceives to be good. Because with time, especially with globalization, the world is now a global village. What we do here in Nigeria, we can see people doing something else in America, in US, they can also see what we do. So with time, our values have been corrupted by the values of other people. Those values may be correct over there, but they may not be correct over here. For example, as mentioned by Missionary Saab, respect is a core family value in our own culture in Africa. You prostrate to greet your elders, you bow for them. Even in speaking to them, use terminology that shows respect. While in some culture, you can speak to your elders with the same language you will speak to your colleague. To them, it is not immoral. It is their own value. But to us, it is immoral. It will not be wrong to now go and import their own value, which to them is correct, into a system that sees that value as being wrong. So we need, one of the challenges we are facing now is our values are being corrupted by values from other areas. I'm not saying those values are wrong over there. They may be correct. In Islam, you don't prostrate to guilt elderly people, but you can bow and give them respect. But you don't prostrate as if you are worshiping God. If you also need to bring that value into your culture, you need to let people see that you respect them. No, you are not prostrating to them. To say that, okay, Islam now asks us to prostrate to you, and the only way in my culture we respect that is to prostrate, so I won't prostrate to you. It may mean that you are doing what is wrong. So we need to look at the first challenge that we are facing is corruption of our values with other people's values. And because the world is a global village, these things are now being learned. In those days, the way you pass family values from one generation to the other, parents to their children, the children also grow up to become parents, they pass to their children. But these days, your children can pick values from elsewhere without necessarily them taking it from you. Because the social media is here. People can just grab, this is what they do over here, this is what they do over here, this is what they do over here, and people put it together and start using their life in that manner. In our culture, you grow up to be an elderly person, then you then get married to an opposite sex, and you are meant to maintain your virginity and your morality till your marriage. But now we have seen people marrying same-sex marriage, all those things, and in their own area, it is correct. Even the law is backing it. But in our own culture, it is very wrong. In fact, in Nigerian constitution, it is a crime to marry somebody of the same sex. So one of the challenges that we are facing with our family values these days is the corruption of our values because of globalization, westernization, and the fact that we now begin to have access to other people's culture, other people's belief, irrespective of what our parents passed down to us. And to make matter worse, parental rules are also being lost. Parents are not intentional about passing these values to their children anymore. They allow them to just speak whatever values they want, and they allow them to practice those values in the name of westernization, in the name of globalization. However, that may not be correct. Our values is our identity. Our value is our morality. We need to pass it to our children. We need to let them learn from it. However, we should not be blind to the wrong ones among them, especially the ones that are against Islam. We begin to drop them while we value those ones that Islam has encouraged, and will continue to practice them and pass them down.
Jazakumullahu khairan, Dr. Saab. That's a very insightful one. Missionary Sahib, while Doctor was speaking, he highlighted that we have some traditional family values that conflict with the Islamic values. How do you think we can be able to merge or bring together these traditional family values and the Islamic core values in a way by which each of them would not be contradicting the other?
In our quest to see how we can balance the Islamic family value with the traditional family value, we need to understand the fact that as a Muslim, we should not compromise the Islamic family values. However, we observed some instances during the time of the Holy Prophet Muhammad that when he came, he actually observed that the Arabians are having their own traditional family values. There are some that he condemned outrightly. There are some that he modified. In our own situation, we can also apply the same thing. We have some things, we have what we call levirate. Levirate is a situation whereby a woman marries the brother of his deceased husband. In Yoruba land, for instance, they make it mandatory upon a woman to marry the brother of his deceased husband. But in Islam, Islam modifies it in such a way that if she wished to marry him willingly, nobody should lure her into marrying his deceased husband's brother. So Islam modifies it that even if that have to happen, it must be done properly. They have to do a proper nikah if the woman wishes to go ahead. Also, we have what we call surrogate. Surrogate is a situation whereby a sister, a woman marry the husband of his, the deceased sisters. That is, if her sisters died, he go ahead to marry that husband, that man, which means that their intention is for her to take care of the children. In that situation also, Islam did not go against it, provided that woman wishes to go ahead with it. We have that instance in case of the Holy Prophet Muhammad and Uthman bin Affan. That is the reason why it's being called Dhul Nurayn, because when the Holy Prophet gave him Ruqayya to marry, when he married Ruqayya, when Ruqayya died, he married Kulthum, which means that there's nothing bad in it. But in the traditional family values, they see it as a compulsory act. So Islam has come to modify it. So all these things can be modified. But anyone that is against the principle of Islam, it is important for us to drop it outrightly. So we can see the way these traditional family values has their own goodness, just as Dr. has mentioned. So we look at those ones that are good But anyone that is against the teaching of Islam will drop it.
Jazakumullahu khairan, Missionary Sahib. Back to Dr. Tawfiq Sahib. Dr. Sahib, in today's world, social media has been something that youth, most especially, go to get whatever they want to learn. So, looking at the impact of social media in our family lives, do you think the social media has caused more harm to our families, or do you think it has impacted the family more in a positive way? And how do you think we can continue to ensure that the social media is utilized positively to enhance our family values?
Jazakallah khairan. I would say that for now, social media has done more harm to family values than good. And unless and until there is an intentional decision for us to correct this, it may not change. The people handling social media, social media is not part of our culture. So our parents may not know about it. The elderly one among us who actually understand the core family values may not know about it. So they are not there. In our own days, the way those things are passed is by discussion at home, discussion during the moonlight. In the evening, you sit down, you are trained, you are taught some things. You watch your parents doing something, you also learn it. Those are the way family values are passed from one generation to the other. They are not things that you actually go to school to learn, really. However, with the advent of education, there are some courses like family, living, social study that are aimed at entrenching family values. So we're able to incorporate it into it. However, when social media came, social media was taken over or hijacked by individuals who are educationists or scientists or who are liberal. So what we see on social media are things that they believe in, but they portray as family value. Because what we see on social media, even when a child starts menstruating, which is a medical thing, in those days, culture determines that you talk to your mother, that you are seeing this sign, and they start telling you that you are getting matured as a woman. These are things you should do. These are things you should not do. They start giving you rules and regulations, even on your relationship with a male counterpart. And when a male child too start having secondary sexual characteristics, there are trainings that will give such a child. But today, social media give you another story, because social media makes us believe that we are free. Family value make us see that we are bounded by our beliefs and our customs. But social media do more of thinking that we are free, we can do whatever we want to do, we have fundamental human rights, we are adults. However, in the same social media, there are core values now that are being portrayed by individuals who are of the belief that family values should not be destroyed. So my take is that the social media as it appears presently has a lot of individuals who has followers, who has voice, who have patronage, who are not teaching what the family values are.
So what do you think we can actually do to mitigate the effect of this family, the negative effect of the social media on our family values, and to improve the positive effects?
We must accept now that social media is now the main thing. Information can be accessed there. In our days, you need to go to library to get some information. These days, you can go on your phone and get information. So we need to come to terms that we need to modify the way we pass our family values. It cannot be as usual, where you sit down to teach alone. Teaching still has a role. But now, we must begin to intentionally go to social media and tell people what our family value is. That as an African, these are what I expected of you. And the reason for those things, we must also be able to tell them. In those days, they will tell you when you are young that you don't eat at the door, at the entrance of the house. That if you do so, some spirit will come and affect you. No, that's not the reason. The reason why you discourage people from eating at the doorway, at the entrance of the house, is because anybody can be coming. The person can actually fall down because you are obstructing the road. Also because you are eating. If anything happens and somebody pushes, you can aspirate and also die. So there are actually medical teachings that can prevent us from fall, prevent us from aspiration. But as a part of our own family value, we have applied some spirit to it, that if you do it, some spirit come and attack you. What we need to do now is to be more plain to people. This is our culture. Don't do this. Don't do that. These are the reasons behind it. We want you to do this, want to do that. These are the reasons behind it. And we begin to bring examples of those who have done it in the past and what they have achieved. So that gradually, people tend to now appreciate our values more and tend to look away from these liberal values that we are taking up today.
Jazakumullah khairan, Dr. Sahib. Beloved viewers, we have been listening to this discussion on family values, and I'm sure you are thrilled to know that as a Muslim, you must uphold your Islamic values. However, you must not throw away your core family values because they are part of your identity. The social media is also good. You can get information from the social media, but you must also be aware that the social media will not define what your values are. Have your values, hold your values tight, and do not move away from your values. We want to ask our audience of their opinion, what they have to say about the discussion.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Jazakumullah khairan, sir, for the wonderful speech. I must confess that I really learned a lot, and especially the part where you said that parents are not very, very intentional about instilling the value on the children. So I have a question. I'm not contributing, sir. So the question is, how can, what would be your advice on parents instilling these family values on their children? Because when we look at the world today, we have social media, we have career, and a lot of things that can deter the parents from having intentional ways in instilling these values in their children. So what will be your own advice or solution to this problem, sir?
Jazakumullahu khairan. Okay, Dr. Saad.
Yes. Jazakumullah khairan, dear brother, for that wonderful questions. Number one, we must first of all know, or parents must know, that some of these values are not taught by mouth, but are taught by actions. So the first thing parents must know is that for them to pass this family value, they must also imbibe those values themselves and display them. For example, if you look at our young children growing, or when we are also very young, at age 2, age 3, we saw our parents then praying. We may not know the meaning of prayer, but we know that at a point in time, during some hours, they will do takbir, they will go to ruku, they will go to sujud, and we begin to mimic them. There are values that we are being trained on, but it's not that they sat us down to teach us. It is when we now go to Atfal, during Atfal classes, that we then get to know that, okay, this is prayer, this is what you say when you are standing, this is what you say at ruku, this is what you say at sujud. So parents must also pass on. A parent that drinks alcohol is teaching the children that some of their family value is to drink alcohol, which is wrong. So if you want to pass down family value, as parents, we must exhibit some. So the good values of integrity, speaking the truth always, being kind to people, respecting people, and all others, being moral, we must display them. That's number one. Number two, we must encourage our children when they do those good things, so that they know that those are the things we appreciate. Those are our values and our core beliefs, and doing it makes the parent happy. And when they do the wrong one, we must condemn it. Or when we see people who are not members of our family doing the wrong, we must tell them, also person did this. It's a wrong thing. We don't believe in it. Yeah, we must begin to tell them. So with time, they are being trained. So they tend to grow to know that in our own family, we don't smoke. In our own family, we don't drink alcohol. In our own family, you must go to mosques. In our own family, you must pray. In our own family, no matter the condition, you must not lie. They will have picked it up right from their childhood. So as they grow, no matter, of course, yes, their social influence, peer influence is there, peer group influence is there. But no matter the peer group influence, they tend to know that it is their family value and it is their culture, and that they must not do something. Even when they want to engage in those bad things, their subconscious mind tells them, my parents must not see me with this. My siblings must not see me with this. My friends must not see me with this. But this is not the way we are trained. This is not our value. So apart from sitting them down to tell them the values, we must also display it, teach them with our action, and when they do the good ones, we encourage them. When they do the bad ones, we discourage them.
Jazakumullahu khairan, Dr. Sahib, for that very wonderful answer. Missionary Olomi Sahib, one of the challenges that we face in our families today is gap, generational gap. Thinking about taking into consideration the Islamic teachings, how do you think these generational gaps can be bridged?
We as a Muslim need to tap our solution from the life of the Holy Prophet Muhammad
Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam.
Because these days, some of the elders are trying to even drive the younger ones away through their authoritarian actions or reactions. And this is very wrong. We need to work with the youth or the youngest one today so that they'll be able to emulate or know some of these family values that we are talking about. Some of them don't have opportunity of learning this family value from their families. So social media, just as Dr. Saab has mentioned, is what is teaching them some of these family values. So we need to draw them closer. In Islam, Islam wants us to understand the fact that everybody has its own potential. Just as the older people have their own potential experience to offer, so also the younger ones also have their own sharp wisdom to also render. So if you look at the life of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he was raised as a prophet at the age of 40 years, he tried to merge he tried to bridge the gap between the younger ones and the elder companions. Like Abu Bakr, Umar, all these are elder companions during the time of the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So he was able to share from their experience. At the same time, he did not left out the younger ones. Like we have Abdullah bin Mas'ud, we have Aisha, Ali bin Talib, all these they are younger ones. Look at it in another way. Khalid Walid was very young when the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallam gave him the authority to lead the battle because he's having the skill. So the Prophet of Allah tried to merge the two together. He tried to make sure that all of them are being used to foster, to make the region of Islam progress. So today, the elder people should make sure that they draw the younger one closer. They should not send them away because some of these elderly people are very harsh. Some of them are too harsh in their activities. Some of them are too harsh in presenting even the family value to these younger people. So we should work together. We should understand the fact that if these younger people are driving away, if we are not trying to bridge the gap, then there's going to be issue tomorrow. So as a Muslim, we need to understand this. And just as Dr. Sa has mentioned, why carrying this younger one along, then they'll be able to equip with the family values. Can also see some examples from the past prophets, like the case of Prophet Yaqub, when he called their children, when he called his children and asked them, what are you going to worship after me? And those children replied that we are going to worship Allah. We are going to worship the God that you are worshiping. You see, from this, we could see that Prophet Yaqub carried his children along, and from there, after his demise, we could see that these children also became a prophet, and some of them were also worshiping Allah. So if we try to carry our children along, in doing what we are doing, they will also be able to perfect the religion. At the same time, we also know the family value as well.
Jazakumullahu khairan, Missionary Sahib. Beloved viewers, having listened to our guests, we will now listen to the guidance of Hazrat Khalifatul Masih, ayyadahu Allah ta'ala bi nasril aziz, on family values. Let us listen to the Huzur.
कुरान शरीफ में इतना हुक्म है कि मियाँ बीवी अपने हक अदा करें, एक दूसरे से बच्चों के हक अदा करें, तरबियत करें, उनके लिए दुआ करें, हैं? आन सल्लल्लाहु ने बहुत सारी बातें बताई।
जी
कुरान शरीफ कहते हैं आशिरूना बिल मारूफ, अच्छी तरह उनसे हुस्न सलूक करो, हैं? बीवियों से लड़ाइयाँ ना किया करें, उनसे हुस्न सलूक किया करें, इसलिए कि अल्लाह ताला को राज़ी करना है। हदीस में आया ना, आन सल्लल्लाहु ने फरमाया कि अगर कोई शख्स अल्लाह की रज़ा की खातिर अपनी बीवी के मुंह में लुकमा भी डालता है तो वो उसको भी सवाब मिलेगा उसको, हैं? सिर्फ ज़ाती प्यार ना हो बल्कि अल्लाह की रज़ा मतलूब हो तो फिर सब कुछ होता है। तो अगर हर काम आपका अल्लाह की रज़ा के लिए हो तो फिर उनके हकूक़ जो हैं वो अदा करें। माँ बाप की ज़िम्मेदारी है बच्चों को संभालना, उनकी तरबियत करना, उनके सामने अपना नेक नमूना देना। अब अगर कायदी 4 नमाज़ें पढ़ रहा हो और वो तुम जो है वो 3 नमाज़ें पढ़ रहा हो तो उसके बाद उन बच्चों के सामने क्या नमूना पेश करेगा कि 5 नमाज़ें पढ़ो, ठीक है? फिर दुआ क्या करेगा? फिर पहली जो बुनियादी चीज़ है जो अल्लाह का हक अदा करने की, अल्लाह की खातिर, वही तो बुनियादी इबादत है। वमा खलक़तुल जिन्ना वल इंसा इल्ला लियअबुदून, के अल्लाह ने इंसानों और जिन्नों को इबादत के लिए पैदा किया है। तो वही इबादत जब हमारे ओहदेदार नहीं कर रहे पूरी तरह अदा, तो बाकी हक कहाँ से अदा करने हैं अल्लाह की खातिर, ठीक है?
That is the guidance from the worldwide head of the Ahmadiyya Muslim community, Hazrat Mirza Masroor Ahmad, ayyadahu Allah ta'ala bi nasrihi al-aziz. Shalom Sahib. So before we go, I want you to please give our audience a word of advice or something you want to leave them with.
I want us to understand the fact that because we have left some of these Islamic family values, a lot of issues are happening in the marriages today. We have countless numbers of divorce, and people are divorcing themselves every day. And what is causing it is because they lack the family values. They lack the morality that Islam is, because the religion of Islam is based on moral system. So it's based on moral law. If in any home or in any marriages, if you lack this morality, then automatically our marriage will not last longer. Therefore, we have to stick and adopt this Islamic family law.
Jazakumullahu khairan. Dr. Saab, what do you want to leave our audience with? What's your advice for our audience?
Thank you, Jazakumullahu khairan. Family values are important. They define our identity. The basic unit of every society is the family. So whatever we learn in the family is what we will now project into the community, into the state, into the nation, and the world at large. So if we are having crisis today, we need to go back home and entrench the beautiful values that God has left us with. There is no culture that is bad. Every culture understands morality, every culture respects religion, and every culture believes in goodness, kindness, and integrity. We must take it as our watchword, and we must begin to practice it ourselves and also pass it to the generation coming after us. And with this, we may have a better world that is peaceful, free of war, and that will be good for everybody to live it.
Jazakumullahu khairan. Dr. Sani Sahib, Jazakumullahu khairan. Shalom Sahib, Jazakumullahu khairan. Our audience, Jazakumullahu khairan for being with us, and to our viewers at home, we say Jazakumullahu khairan for staying with us through this program. For questions, comments, and observations, please reach out to us via africa@mta.tv. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.